Good morning, I'm Jessica Lovell. Today we bring you an encore presentation of one of our very favorite programs. We'll still be live with you this summer, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and then come September, we'll be back with our regularly scheduled programming. Until then, enjoy this encore presentation and make it a great day. Each year, millions of older people fall. But the CDC reports less than half tell their doctor, increasing the risk of serious injury. Coming up on today's morning medical update, the top 3 common causes of falls and what you can do to avoid a takedown. Welcome into the Morning Medical Update. We are live inside the Dolph C. Simons Jr. Family Broadcast Studio. Falls are the second leading cause of unintentional injury deaths worldwide. It's the biggest risk if you're over the age of 60. Falls are common, they're costly, and most importantly, they are preventable. So make sure you get your questions sent in to us on YouTube, Facebook, and the Medical News Network. You can find links to all of those right there on your screen. More than 1/4 of Americans aged 65 and older fall each year. The CDC found it led to more than 3 million visits to the emergency room and more than 800,000 hospitalizations. Fall death rates in the U.S. went up 30% from 2007 to 2016. If this trend continues, we can expect 7 fall deaths every hour by the year 2030. It has become a major public health concern. But as we said, falls are preventable. We are pleased to welcome Geriatrician Dr. Kalender-Rich. Hello, how are you?
Hi, good, thank you.
And we are going to go live out to our Sports Medicine and Performance Center with ways to strengthen yourself to help avoid those falls. So, Doctor, we're calling this a public health concern. Why are these numbers increasing, like we just mentioned?
Yeah, they're increasing for several reasons. One reason is that certainly there are more people that are trying to live at home and living alone and remaining independent. Even later in their age, right? And so they have hopefully more support at home, and hopefully they are moving and grooving as long as they can, but it's difficult to recognize when that time is that people really need to have extra support and extra ways to help prevent the falls.
Well, like you said, you're always telling people, make sure you stay moving and getting out there, but then you got to really find that balance of literally and figuratively of moving, but doing it really safely,
right,
and looking for any of those, risks that you might have out there. Are there any specific conditions that would make you more prone to falls?
Yeah, so I love that you brought up balance, right? Because everything is going to be a balance. And one of the major conditions, of course, that would lead to trouble with falls is anything that is going to affect your balance. So that's any kind of neurological problem, any history of stroke or brain injury, or really any injury to any of your extremities that can lead to balance issues. And then weakness, especially if it's weakness just in one spot, or inner ear problems. But that's balance, right? Other things that can lead to falls are just general weakness, right? I've been sitting in my chair, I hang out in my chair most of the time, I go from my bed to my chair to my couch to my bed to my chair to my couch, and I don't get out and move. And that weakness, we're all at higher risk for that increased weakness as we get older and as our muscles start to not work as well. And we know that adults, especially women, lose a significant amount of muscle mass, lean muscle mass, as we age, even with doing certain types of exercises. So being able to sort of prevent or limit that lean muscle mass loss is critical.
So when a fall occurs, what are those fall injuries resulting in most commonly?
Yeah, so the most common result of a fall is bruising your ego, right?
Yeah. I've been there.
Right.
We've all done it, no matter how old your age.
The normal things like, pain in certain joints and things like that. But certainly some people do experience real injuries, and those real injuries are the things that A, land you in the hospital, B, land you in a place where you can't move as well, and then you start sort of a spiral of, I'm falling and then I'm getting weaker because I don't want to walk more, and so then I fall and then I get weaker and then I don't want to walk more. And so other injuries certainly are things like fractures, hip fractures, wrist fractures from trying to catch oneself. The biggest bad thing is going to be when somebody hits their head.
And that concerns me right now. I'm going to stop you there because you talk about that bruised ego, and a lot of people, and we've talked about this, having those conversations with our aging populations, because they've got this life figured out, and the last thing they need is someone coming in and telling them how to do things, and they don't often want to admit that, hey, I took a spill today. And so how do we kind of open that conversation up to make sure that they feel comfortable sharing with their caretakers or just their children that pop in to say hi, that they fell today and that maybe they need to be checked on?
Yeah, you know, everybody really just needs to understand these things happen. They happen when we're young, they happen when we're older, they happen at all kinds of times. Falling happens. We want to try to prevent the injury that may result. And so, you know, we as family members really need to keep an eye out for, gosh, is my loved ones, is the way they're walking changing? Do they look like suddenly they're limping a little bit? Is something sort of moved around the house and you don't know why? And asking that and opening that door. And also, by the way, anytime they come to a clinic or a hospital or anywhere, really we should be asking and are asking, you know, have you fallen in the last 6 months? And that also should help bring up some flags for the clinicians to help the family.
Open up that line of communication, for sure. We've put a QR code up there on your screen about today's program, and all the information that we're talking about, you can scan it to find more from the CDC on the dangers and the risks of falling. We want to help prevent a fall with some simple exercises, so we want to head out and check in with Alexis Delstead, who's kind of taken a load off this morning out at the we're out at the Health Systems Sports Medicine and Performance Center. Alexis, what are you finding out there?
Okay, well, here's the thing. You wouldn't normally associate sitting in chairs with exercising, but these chairs are going to be important tools for us. I'm here with Joey Mitchell, who's a corrective exercise specialist. And the beauty of what we're about to show you is that wherever you're watching this program from, you can do these exercises right now, and chairs are a very important part. So, Joey, you would first do this exercise when you have a senior coming in for one of your sessions. So show us how we use these chairs.
Absolutely. So many falls happen while you're just getting up and out of a chair. So that's kind of the first thing I like to practice with a lot of my older individuals that I work with. So the first exercise I like to do is just a sit to stand. So just planting your feet into the ground, using those armrests if you need them.
I thought you were going to say not to use the armrest as part of the exercise.
Yeah, so the goal is not to use them, but if at first you need them, feel free to use them. So from there, all you're doing is standing and then squeezing through the backside to get back down to that chair, using the arm rails if you need them, and then hopefully progressing to no arm rails.
Do you see a lot of people come in who've had falls from sitting down and missing the chair or standing up and losing their balance?
Absolutely. I have plenty of clients who come in and they admit to me that they fell while getting in and out of a chair, and so we'd like to practice it and hopefully prevent it from happening again.
So you could practice that while you're watching us. And then the other, and these are really important just to me personally, for my family. My dad has Alzheimer's, so my mom and I are always working, and my dad is with my dad to make sure he stays up with his exercises. So these are things we can do with him at home as well for his balance.
Absolutely.
What would be the next exercise?
So the next exercise, now that we got those muscles strengthened up, would just be practicing that balance. So I like to suggest a single leg balance, just standing on one leg. And one thing that's great about doing this is you can do it at the counter while you're brushing your teeth, while you're doing any cooking, because then you can kind of stabilize yourself while you're doing them as well.
So would you say whenever you're standing, try to stand on one leg?
Yeah, it's an awesome idea to practice it whenever you can.
Okay. And how often should you be doing, in addition, well, anytime we're standing is what you said, but also how often should we do this sit-stand exercises with the chair?
That's a great exercise that you can do every day.
Okay.
Just do about 10 of them just to build a little bit of muscle mass.
Okay. And what's exercise number 3?
So exercise number 3 is taking that balance just a step further and adding in a bit of change of direction. So just moving that other foot, tapping it out to the side, out in front, out behind, and then just repeating, going around in that circle so that that leg has to practice changing directions.
This is your specialty, working with the older population on their balance. How'd you get into this?
Absolutely. So my grandfather got me into exercise as a kid, and watching him age gracefully while staying active kind of made me passionate about this.
Joey, one of the other things, and do you have another exercise you want to show us, or should we just kind of keep doing this?
We should just keep practicing this one here.
You know, Jess, and this is actually, I feel my leg kind of shaking, and it's not like I'm tired, but it's a little bit hard to balance. Is this normal, or do I really need to do this?
No, absolutely. It gets tiring, but the more you do it, the less tiring it'll get, the easier it'll get, and the more those muscles will get ready for it.
You were telling me before the segment began that you have a special class that you just started here working with patients, Alzheimer's and dementia patients. How does the class work?
Yeah, so patients get referred through the health system that are diagnosed with Alzheimer's or mild cognitive impairment. And they come in, we work with a lot of strength training, a lot of balance training with those individuals, and hopefully improve their physical and mental state just a little bit.
One of the things that the doctor told me to do with my dad is heel-toe walks.
Absolutely.
What do those do? Can you show us those?
Yeah, so that would just be walking up onto your heel, and then driving up onto your toes. And then each time you drive up onto your toes, it asks for a little bit of balance from that leg.
Okay. And then do you do it backwards?
Yeah, you can absolutely do it backwards.
Like a moonwalk?
Yep, doing a little moonwalk in there.
My dad does this all around the house.
Yeah.
When he's over, he's like, I'm going to do my heel-toe walks now, everybody. And he walks around the living room with CNN on. Am I doing it right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Driving up onto the toe.
Well, this is really helpful, and these seem like really simple exercises, which they are, but so powerful in helping with lifestyle and making sure people minimize their risks for falling.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jess, we're going to keep doing these exercises here because I want to perfect what I'm going to show my dad when I get home, and this is great. And again, if you're watching this program from home, these are simple things you can do throughout this program while you're watching. You could just stand up and stand on one leg and enjoy the discussion.
Alexis, I have a question for Joey.
Yeah, Jess has a question for you.
Because I was on vacation a few weeks ago, and I thought in my hotel room I would try some yoga moves, and because I thought, this is a good time. I'm not going to do a major workout, but I thought just working on balance and maybe strengthening some muscles I didn't know I had. But I realized very quickly that in my 40s, my balance is not quite where I feel like it should be. So how important is it, even these simple exercises for maybe younger people, in their 20s, 30s, and 40s as we age, to do simple things like that? Is that important, or should we be doing something more strenuous, like maybe more challenging exercises, or should we just be doing what you've been showing us?
Absolutely, yeah. It's very important to practice it throughout your entire life. We practice it with everyone from, obviously, with our older individuals, but with our collegiate athletes as well. Practicing that balance, keeping those muscles strong and ready to go, and then keeping that brain and connected with those muscles ready to go as well.
I like that. Go ahead.
I gotta say, Jess, I'm surprised at how wobbly I am standing
right?
on one leg. I'm going to do this more often. It's kind of freaking me out how I'm wobbly with this. So this is a kind of a wake-up call, I think.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. But now it's something I could do while I'm waiting for my coffee to brew in the morning, or like you said, brushing our teeth. Stand on one leg. I'll have to wait for the yoga moves, I think. Dr. Kalender-Rich, your thoughts on that? How important is it just to do these things when you're not even thinking about it, and how it can really have a big payoff as people get older?
Yeah, the way that we can integrate and really just, move, like I say, right? I always say we have to move so we don't lose it, right? So moving all the time is going to be really important, and standing on one leg and standing and sitting and using that core muscle strength is critically important to maintaining your balance.
Well, let's get straight to our community. And I do want to go back out to the Sports Performance Center here in just a moment, but I do have a question from Jim. He wants to know, Dr. Kalender-Rich, if falling is a symptom of dementia.
Oh, that's a great question. So many people with early stages of memory impairment do have higher risk of falling, and that's partially because of, it's mostly because of this idea of multitasking. So as your brain is working harder to overcome any memory problems, you can have trouble we talk about walking and chewing gum, at least I do for my kids. So it's the idea of being able to do multiple things at a time, and as you walk, right, you have to be able to take in your environment around you and maintain your balance in order to sort of move through space. And so is it a sign of dementia? No, but can it be? Yes.
All right, I want to check back out at the Sports Medicine and Performance Center with Alexis Del Cid. We've got Joey Mitchell out there talking about different exercises you could do to help with your balance, to help strengthen those muscles that give you better balance. Alexis, we have a question from Kendra. She wants to know, she says, my mom prefers to use a wheelchair because she's scared of falling. I would imagine that happens a lot. That's kind of like a security blanket for people. But I don't want her to lose all of the muscles. So question, Joey, any suggestions for her to kind of wean her off the wheelchair to build those muscles back up?
Yeah, first thing would be to start with just some seated exercises. You can go with some leg extensions while seated, just to kind of help build up some of those muscles. And then the second thing would be just don't train alone. Train with a partner, train with someone who can kind of bring you up, build up that confidence.
Should she practice getting in and out of a chair, or is that too risky right off the bat if she prefers being in a wheelchair?
No, I don't think it's too risky, especially if you have someone there to kind of work with you and encourage you, catch you if you get off balance a little bit. Obviously start with those arm rests, use them for support, and just work with what you can.
I figure the strength is what builds the confidence, right, Dr. Kalender-Rich?
Yeah, part of it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, once you feel good and confident about it, you're going to want to take those steps out. Tim says that his mom has been falling more a lot lately, but she kind of shrugs it off. We talked about that. Right. Maybe a little in denial, but he's concerned. How many falls is too many? When should you know that it's time to go seek help, see a doctor, get this checked out?
The biggest risk factor for falls is history of falls, which means that one fall is really too many. And one fall is a time where we need to start thinking about, gosh, are there things we can change? Are there exercises? Are there medicines? Are there other health conditions going on? So, really getting in early before, we want to figure this out before there's a fall with an injury as best we can.
All right, I do have a question for Dr. Hawkinson. Joellen wants to know, is this increase in COVID hospitalizations from Thanksgiving gatherings, do you think? Or is it this triple-demic that we've been talking about with flu and RSV and COVID? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's certainly a combination. Again, hospitalizations tend to lag the number of cases and case data by 2 to 3 weeks. So we are kind of getting to that point beyond Thanksgiving at this time. But it's also, we know that from the latest data, the weekly data from the CDC, that 4 or 5 weeks ago, the number of cases in the United States started to increase as well. And so it's a combination of that time lag, but also the Thanksgiving time lag as well.
Makes sense.
Yep.
Dr. Kalender-Rich, a question for you from Carol. She has a comment and kind of a question here. I guess she says, I think it's really important to teach people, maybe especially seniors, how to fall safely. Let's talk about that. And also she's asking if there's any studies that are out there or any programs that help people fall safely. I mean, how many times do I tell my kids, like, protect your head or don't fall here, or, that's why we get so many wrists and elbows, because people are catching themselves. But is there advice on how to fall correctly?
There's a lot out there on how to fall correctly, and a lot of it is about really protecting your head, like you mentioned, but also, trying to not reach out for the thing that's really far away, avoiding the table that's off in the distance, or things that are unstable, right? Because then we just fall on those things as they fall with us. And so certainly trying to cushion that fall with the pieces of your body that really can handle it the best as you kind of move. Yes, so I would certainly PTs, OTs, people like Joey out there are the people that are really going to be able to help somebody understand kind of how to fall safely and how to sort of upright yourself once that happens.
Joey, any advice on that? Any demo on how to fall safely or get up safely?
How to fall safely or get up safely? That's a good question.
I don't have great advice for that, honestly.
If we're on the ground, do you have tips on just how people get back up to their feet?
The best thing to do there is just practice it. Lay down on the ground, practice getting up, building those muscles up so that you can have the strength to get yourself up as big. So just having that strength.
Sit down while we're...
Absolutely.
So like, I'm sitting on the floor. I know that even now at 48, I groan more when I'm getting in and out of certain positions, right?
Yeah.
Like, I know people who can just stand up without using their hands.
Yeah, and that's pretty impressive, but that's not
Okay, so
the
how
case
would you-
for most people.
How do you?
Yeah, so for most people, it's going to be getting on to one leg, rolling onto that side, flipping that leg over, and then that way you can kind of use your hands to help support you up. And that's where that total body strength comes in, because then if you have that strength through your upper body as well, you can help yourself up just a little bit better.
But there's no trick.
Not necessarily a trick. I wish there was.
I
Yeah.
remember, Jessica, my Yaya fell once, and she was on the ground for 7 hours. She couldn't reach her phone, and she had to wait till another member of the family got home and helped her to her feet. But how helpless and frustrating that must have felt. So to start practicing these things now, when you can get up out of a standing position, so you don't lose that muscle memory too.
It is, you're right. It's finding that kind of sweet spot, and Jessica Kalender-Rich can talk to us about this too. Just about, my parents are like that. They're very active. They're 75 years old, but I'm lucky enough to have my parents with me, but they're aging, and I'm already starting that conversation with them, and they do not like it when I say things like, "I'm going to have to get you one of those little alarms just in case you fall, because it could happen one day, and I don't want you sitting there like Yaya for 7 hours, helpless and in a position where you can't get to help." Walk us through some of those conversations, and this is me asking for free medical advice from you, but how do we start talking to our parents? We love our folks, and we love that they're active, but it just isn't going to be that way forever.
Yeah, so I think it's a staged conversation. So some of that conversation is going to be about, gosh, I want you to be able to move with me and with my kids and with your friends as long as you possibly can. And that means that I don't want you to be injured, right? And so if you fall or if something happens and you need help, I want you to be able to get help quickly. And then it's thinking about what are the ways that they might be open to that. So for example, we got a family member of ours an Apple Watch or like a smart watch that has an app on it so that if they fall, it can call me and not call someone else, right? Or and they were okay with wearing that particular piece of jewelry because it felt normal.
It felt normal. It felt cool. It felt like it wasn't. You're not going to have big blaring sirens come running after you outside your home. They don't want a lot of attention brought to the fact that maybe they've fallen, right?
Right. Or even the necklaces that somebody can tuck under their shirt, right? Instead of these big bracelets that maybe feel less fashionable, let's say.
But it's reality. It's tough. It's like telling somebody, who's older, they can't drive anymore. I mean, those are
hard conversations.
These are hard conversations, and that's why we love having you on, because they're necessary, but they are tough. I want to do final thoughts, but I was hoping, Alexis, instead of
Joey and I are just talking through it.
No, instead of, if you would just do like a quick minute long for those who are just joining us, instead of final thoughts, would you do just a quick recap of those 3 exercises that you said were really helpful for all of us at all ages?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so the first one I like to start out with is just a simple sit to stand. So scooting towards the edge of a nice stable chair, planting your feet into the ground.
And you can use the things, if the armrest.
Absolutely, yeah. Use the armrests if you need them. Try to progress to not using them. Or from there, just standing up, squeezing through the hips, and then sitting back down, using the armrests if you need them, and then hopefully not. And then just repeating there.
Okay.
And then to step that up a little bit to test the balance, we can go to a single leg stand. So just standing on one leg, practicing that balance. I like to do this at a counter so that you can use a little bit of stabilization if you need it. You can practice while you're brushing your teeth, while you're cooking at the kitchen counter, whatever you need to do. Just practice that balance. And then the next step up from that is going to be to add a little bit of change of direction. So standing on one leg again, and then that other leg's going to be moving. So now that leg has to balance you as your body is moving. Takes it up just a little notch.
Okay. And then you showed us heel to toe walks.
Yeah.
My dad loves those.
Yeah.
So I want you, can you zoom in on our feet so we can show people how to do it the right way? We have Cliff Irwin, who's our photojournalist.
Yeah.
We're working his muscles, making him get all these angles. Okay, the heel toe walks.
So that will be pulling that toe up and then driving up high onto that toe, taking a big step, and driving up onto that toe with each step.
Okay. I really think the beauty of these is people can do these, like Jess was saying, right now, all day. If you're at home or at the office, you can just stand and practice these. And sometimes it can be intimidating to go to a gym or to try to convince. Maybe you have a family member who doesn't like to go to a gym and it's not their comfort level, but these are so simple yet powerful.
Absolutely.
It can really help people.
Joey, Alexis, thank you so much. Really helpful. And it goes back to what we talked about, Dr. Kalender-Rich. Falls are preventable, and this is all preventative medicine and activity to really keep our seniors safe and really all of us safe, right?
Absolutely.
Your final thoughts today?
You know, my final thoughts are, let's be open, right? Let's be open to telling our doctors and our families if we're having dizziness when we stand up. Let's be open to maybe trying not to wear high heels as much as we get older and wear more comfortable, supportive, good shoes. Let's be open to telling people if we fall in, and let's be open to moving and grooving as much and as long as possible.
All right, no heels. I will duly note that as I get older. Dr. Hawkinson.
Getting that updated bivalent booster reduces your risk of death by 15%. You know, today I heard on the news one of the anchors saying that people were lying to the general public because the vaccines didn't stop infection, they didn't stop transmission. You know, that is not actually accurate. The important thing to remember is the vaccines were always created to reduce your chance of hospitalization and death. They have done that very well. We do see a minor point of the fact that it does sometimes help reduce you getting infected, but overall the vaccines do what they're supposed to do. They continue to protect you very much, even against these new variants. The BQ1, BQ1.1, there are a couple other variants that are circulating as well, but the most important thing to understand is that we do have good data to support the fact that the vaccines continue to provide protection, help reduce your chance of hospitalization as well as death, and so that's why it's extremely important, as that Kaiser Family Foundation study says, to be updated with your booster to help reduce your risk of death overall.
Doc Hawk, thanks so much, and thank you for being with us today.
Subscribe to our morning medical update and Open Mics with Dr. Stein's podcasts. Now, everywhere podcasts are available.